So hi, Sherry.
Hi, Michael McDonald.
Thank you so much for coming. I haven't done one of these for a while, so and I know you haven't either. So we'll warm.
Never.
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 We'll get warmed up, I'm sure. So just for biographical information, please state your name and where you were born.
Okay. Sherry Susan McMahon, born in Great Falls, Montana, on October 24th, 1954.
Thank you very much. So obviously we're going to talk about Jerome. When did you move here?
I moved to Jerome in August of 1986.
1986?
1986, August.
From where?
From Prescott.
Okay.
Prescott was getting too big. It's
So
hard to believe,
what was
isn't it?
the attraction about Jerome?
The first time that I saw Jerome, I was coming from Montana with my second husband, and we had an old school bus full of all of our stuff, and we were towing a 1964 Dodge something or another that was 40 feet long behind it. We stopped in Flagstaff to get gas, and I was reading the map, and I said, "Oh, Gary, we don't have to go down the interstate. Let's take this road 89. It looks like a shortcut to Prescott." Little did I know, down through Oak Creek Canyon, this way and that way and this way and that way, and then on up to Jerome, and we hit the stop sign next to the Spirit Room and pulled over to let the brakes cool off.
Okay.
And I went, wow, look at this place. Reminds me of Virginia City, Montana. This is so cool. Let's go in the Spirit Room and get a beer. So we stopped, let the brakes cool off, and at that moment, I knew that I wanted to live in Jerome.
No kidding.
We carried on to Prescott,
Right.
where I lived for another 6 years,
Okay.
from 1980 till 1986. And I was always over here. Major Lingo was the big draw.
Yes.
And I came over for the fireman's picnic, and I never left.
What'd you do? Get an apartment?
I called
Were you
my job in Prescott. I was a bartender at the Willow Creek Inn, and I called him up and I said, "I'm not coming back to work. I'm going to live in Jerome from now on." And a friend of mine had the apartment above Jeannie Moss's hair salon in the Central Hotel.
Right.
And so I just moved in with her while I figured out where I was going to live.
Were you still married?
Oh, no, that was over a long time ago.
Okay.
I think I got divorced from my second husband in Prescott in about 1982.
Okay.
Yeah, about 82.
So you were single and
Yep.
and ready for an adventure.
I was ready to change my life.
Aha.
I met Nancy Stewart.
Uh-huh.
She lived on Verde Street.
Yes.
She said, "Oh, I'm going to move downstairs and you can rent the apartment upstairs at Flossie's house." So I think about the 1st of September, I moved in above Nancy Stewart.
Wow. And so maybe you can help me get an interview with Nancy, but that's an aside.
Oh, boy.
I know. I tried Harry the other day.
Oh.
Not having it.
Harry, no, you can't talk to Harry.
So you had to get a new job.
Spirit Room. Spirit Room.
Of course. Wasn't Nancy working there?
Nancy was not working at the Spirit Room because the big bust had happened on October 11th of 1985.
That's right.
When all the cops rolled into town one after another and they locked everybody up. But a lady named Mary Beth Phelps was the manager of the Spirit Room. And she needed somebody else to take a couple of shifts. And so I got hired right away.
Well, cool. Did you like the job?
Loved it.
And who were your customers?
Oh boy. These guys. Oh my God. Bobby Bell.
Uh-huh.
David Skimmons.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kinsella. Fry Gently.
Fry Gently?
Guy Henley.
Guy Henley.
Yes, Guy Henley.
Of course. I wish I could have interviewed him.
Oh, God, I loved Guy more than anybody else in the world. I loved Guy. And when I went to New Orleans the next year to work in the French Quarter during the school year, when I went to New Orleans and I came back, I had Louisiana nicknames for everybody. And Guy Henley's nickname was General
No Regard.
And I gave him that name and he loved it and he lived up to it.
Yes, he did. I used to love when he came in the bar and would say, he would swagger in with his scarf
Wolfie.
and say, "Hello, I'm General No Regard." It was wonderful.
Yes, it was wonderful, hon. Let's see. And so for girls, we had Patty Bell, who at the time she was married to Bobby. Yeah. And Susie Kinsella and Paula Taylor and Diane McFadden was another one of the bartenders. Pam Deniers. Who else? I think that was pretty much all of us.
Yeah. So the town was not very full of people at that time, I imagine.
It was full of groovy people. Jerome was a beacon for unusual people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me about the vibe. Why did you like it?
I loved it because all I had to do to fit in Jerome was to be different and to be myself. That was good enough.
Yeah.
That was good enough.
I would say that's a characteristic of most of the people at that time, and even still a few around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's a place where you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, what did you, how was the community? Was it operating? I mean, was the town, thinking about infrastructure? Richard told me a lot about how much work they did up there, all that kind of stuff.
Richard Martin.
Yeah, Richard Martin.
I knew Richard Martin when I lived in Prescott.
Oh, no kidding.
Even before I moved over here. He and I both took a dream workshop from a friend of mine, Terry Tudan, who was married to a John Tudan, who at one time lived in the Gulch and became really a fabulous architect and did lots of things in Prescott. He designed the upstairs at the Palace Bar. He redid the Hotel Vendome. He had a lot to do with the Prescott Library. John lived here and then he went to Prescott, but Terry, his wife, did this dream workshop. And that's where I met Richard Martin.
Oh, no kidding.
When I still lived in Prescott. And we were pals from the moment we met.
Yeah, Richard's great.
Yes.
I did 3-hour sessions with him.
Did
He
you?
has so much information.
Oh, my God.
And his
He
memory
knows
is
everything.
incredible. Yeah.
He's so wonderful.
Yeah.
I miss Richard because Richard, when I moved into the Blue House, which was about a year after I moved to Jerome, I moved into the Blue House on Company Hill.
Yeah.
And Richard...
Which is your house now.
Yes.
Yes.
Richard had the big, the company store building across the street from me.
Right.
Was a woodworking shop. And he was right across the street.
Oh,
and,
great.
Oh, we spent time together every couple of days smoking joints. He would give me scraps of wood for the wood stove because I was freezing. Anyway, Jerome, at that time, Jerome was a very, very close-knit community, divided up kind of into sects.
Huh. What were
There
the
was
sects?
this group over here, and this group over there, and this group over here. And I think a lot of it was based on your drug of choice.
Well, there were a lot of drugs going on at that time.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, so you had the laid-back pot smokers, you had the jacked-up cocaine snorters, and then probably some...
I won't say it.
Oh, and then there was, then there was some heroin, and then probably some mushrooms and LSD for everybody.
When I came from Prescott and moved in above Nancy Stewart, I had a baby food jar full of ecstasy and a bag of capsules. And many a lingo night we danced on air.
Yeah. So did you guys feel pretty free to live your alternate lifestyle here with the local establishment, constabulary?
The constabulary was always out to clean up Jerome.
Oh, really?
Yes, because during our time here, the wickedest town in Arizona,
yes,
as far as they were concerned, was an even wickeder town. And so from the big bust with James Farnstrom that happened in 85
right
on for a good 15 years, I would say, there was like this whole underground compared to the constabulary.
Okay.
And then we got some wonderful police that were live and let live.
Yes.
Victimless crime. Let's not.
Yeah.
Honey, I fell apart.
Did you?
Yes.
Both of my mics are doing that. Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm interested in just the vibe, the character of all the people here and how it stood out against the other places you've lived in your life. And why was it different? What do you think?
Jerome is a magnet for misfits, artists, anarchists, druggists. It's just, I don't know what it is about this little knob up on the side of the mountain that just seems to beckon to people of an alternate lifestyle.
Yeah.
Just not the regular old ho-hum, da-da-da-da-da. We had the most wonderful parties. Everybody would come together. Everybody would make something wonderful. All the people that played music would just show up. And even the different little groups, we would still all get together at Christmas time, or if somebody died. Everybody was really into the community minded. It was so community minded.
Yeah. I often say people get washed up on the shores of Jerome.
That's beautifully put.
Yeah, because I know I did.
Yeah.
You know, Lori and I did.
Yep. Yeah.
And then we realized that we were misfits too. And wow, I think we belong here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Lori coming to stay when she was in LA, and you were in LA at the same time.
Yep.
And Lori would come over with Doug, And they would come over, and sometimes I'd be gone and they'd stay in the house anyway, because I'd just say, just go in and stay in the house. And finally, when her mom moved here, that was it. When your mom moved here,
that's why we came.
Well, we're going to be here because Mom was.
Yeah.
And Lori would come, and Slim would be so happy because Lori would come and sit in with Slim, and he'd either be playing at the Jerome Palace, which is now the Haunted Hamburger, or he would be playing at Betty's Ore House, which is now the Clink Scales. And if Lori was visiting me and she was in town, Slim was in seventh heaven. He always said, Lori McDonald is my favorite person to jam with, to play with.
Yeah.
He loved.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, they started Combo Deluxe, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Still going strong.
Yes.
So what were some of the other bands that were playing around?
Oh, God, we had the Spam Tones.
Okay.
With Anything But Moderate Bob. I don't even know Bob's last name.
I don't either.
I don't. I swear. Isn't that weird?
Mod Bob.
Anything But Moderate Bob. So we had the Spam Tones. We had Major Lingo. There was a couple of little blues bands, but I don't really remember them. We had the Hoodoo Kings from Phoenix, who we call the Hairdo Kings. Bob Corritor, which now has, what's the name of that bar in Phoenix?
I can't
the Rhythm Room.
Oh, right, the Rhythm Room. Yes.
Bob Corritor played with the Hoodoo Kings. They would come up and play at the Spirit Room, and it was so fabulous. They were really good. And then there was the Limbs Akimbo era. Oh, my God. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
And there was Buddy Reed and the Rip It Ups.
And the Rip It Ups? Mm-hmm. Oh, I have never heard of them.
Little tiny Buddy Reed. Sometimes, who's the black guy that used to play in Prescott all the time? Great big black guy. Carvin Jones, black guy from down there. Hans Olsen would come up and play. Jerry Riopel. Yeah. We would get lucky and have him sometimes. The 360 Band from Prescott.
Wow, this is great. And a lot of them I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably about it. One time, Los Lobos came through town, and Mary Beth was working at the bar, and they wanted to sit in with whoever was playing. And so they did. And we didn't know that it was Los Lobos.
No kidding.
They were so wonderful.
Oh, I bet they were.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So, you were talking about groups getting together, potlucks?
Potlucks, birthday parties. We had Scorpio parties because there's more Scorpios here than anything else. We'd have the Hexen Voodoo Garden Club party.
I never heard of this.
Oh, you weren't here yet.
No.
Oh, God. I should have brought a picture. Wally Coates.
Okay.
Dennis Porter.
Yes.
Vincent Canto.
Okay.
French Vincent. Did you meet
Yeah, Vincent. I know him.
Okay. Anyway, I was having a party at my house just for girls. I still working at the Spirit Room. So we had this party planned on the full moon in June, and it was the Jerome Ladies Hexen Voodoo Garden Club party. And it was only for girls. And all the boys at the bar said, "What do you mean, Sherry? What do you mean we can't come to your party?" I said, "Listen, if you want to come to this party, you will have to come in drag." And so they did. So I will bring you a picture.
Oh, this will be great.
And text it to you.
Yeah, you can give it to Rainbow. She's collecting pictures
honey,
for the movie.
the whole side yard was full of a whole bunch of crazy girls, all dolled up in hats, and we had all this food and wine. I had bought a case of red wine. We made sangria from the spirit room. And all of a sudden, up the steps to my house, here comes Wally Coates as a proper English matron with a little Mary Poppins hat, pearls, white gloves, a little white blouse, a little straight skirt, nylons, and size 10.5 white slingback sandals, which he got so drunk he left at my house and went home in his stocking feet.
That's dangerous around here.
Margaret feet. And then there was Dennis Porter, who was
the painter,
dating Laura.
Right.
Our recently departed, beautiful Laura.
Yes, I know.
And they were living in Curtis's Victorian house on Company Hill at the time. So Laura had gotten Dennis all dolled up till he looked like Elizabeth Taylor, because he had such beautiful eyes. And so she ratted his hair all up, and he came in a caftan. And then Vincent, being French, he showed up as a fille de joie.
Who?
Which is a girl of joy, or a hooker.
A hooker.
And he had on fishnets and a garter belt and a mini skirt and a little and a jacket. And then he had long, beautiful black hair. And who was he with at the time? Who was his wife at the time? I can't remember, because he had about 3 wives before he married Stephanie. And he and Wally had the same wife one time, Veronica Contreras. Wally was married to Veronica first, and then Vincent was married to Veronica next. Anyway, but...
Typical Jerome.
Oh, yeah. You don't lose your girlfriend. You just lose your turn. Anyway, Vincent had his long black hair up in a beautiful ponytail and lovely black eyeliner and mascara. He was positively gorgeous. So these 3 guys in drag came walking up the stairs to the garden, and the girls went wild. They were the absolute hit of the party. They came and they just really, they knocked us all for a loop.
That's wonderful.
It was one of the best parties ever.
Oh, I bet.
Ever.
So you were saying that the party was called the Hex and Voodoo Garden Club. Mm-hmm. Well, people down in Cottonwood would always say that's Jerome, the evil city, that's where all the witches are. So did you guys do any witchery?
We prayed for justice.
That's good.
We prayed.
You're good witches then.
That everybody would just be happy and kind and have a good life. And I don't know what else. We didn't really put any hexes on it.
You cast light spells of goodwill. Good for you.
Yes.
Well, all those people had it wrong for
a lot of pot, and we sprinkled a lot of fairy dust around, and somebody made a Texas sheet cake, and we couldn't leave it alone. It was really good.
Well, so how was business in town at that time?
Well,
were people making a living?
There was the Verde Valley Art Association, the VVAA,
mm-hmm.
and they were showcasing a lot of Jerome artists. There was the Copper Shop that Bobby Bell owned, the Nellie Bly building at the time.
Right.
And Patty Bell had done a beautiful job of ordering fabulous copper pieces. And that was a beautiful shop. And I think they did really well. Skyfire was fabulous. Carol Whitner and Michael Farkas
Right.
had Skyfire, and
Yes.
they had that building, and they turned that building into a work of art, and I think Carol did really well there.
Yeah. So they were there pretty early on.
They were
huh?
there early on. When I first was in Prescott, she had a little tiny shop where Raspberries was, and I don't know what it is now. I think they sell T-shirts. It's next to Laughing Mountain.
Okay.
And she she had a shop the size of this room. But she had wonderful things, and people would come from all over to shop with her. And then she got the building with Michael Farkas.
Right.
Let's see, we always had the Mine Museum. Then in the Connor building, there was the Brass Tack, and there was Roderick Segretti had a jewelry shop. And then at one point, Tisa Conlon had a shop there.
Magdalena's?
No,
Oh, this is
Tisa's
before.
was called the Mandolin.
Oh, that's right. the
Tisa had
Mandolin.
a beautiful shop. And then her cousin, Sheila, took it over when Tisa stopped. And it was Magdalena's Bazaar. And it was a beautiful,
Yeah,
fabulous
I
shop.
painted the sign for that.
Oh, that was the most wonderful store. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And then, what else was here? The Friendly Shop, which was next to Paul and Cherry's, had been boarded up for years and was still boarded up, where a lady named Laura Greenwell had had an antique store. When Curtis's dad was alive, they used to come up and visit with her, but it was closed up for a long time. So business was okay. Tourists, okay. If a tour bus came into town, everybody locked the door and turned the sign around. Closed.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
People on the bus don't buy nothing.
right.
They want to know where the bathroom is.
Yeah.
So they don't have to pee on the bus.
So we got the day off.
Yeah. They just turned the sign around till the bus loaded up and left.
That's funny.
The rooms upstairs above the spirit room
Yes.
at the Connor Hotel, I think we sometimes would rent those rooms for somewhere between $8 and $15, which is what it costs the maid to pay the maid to do the sheets and stuff. So if somebody was too drunk at the spirit room to drive home, Mary Beth would take a little money and send them upstairs. They're so cheap. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, they're all fancy.
Yeah, most of them were empty back in the day.
Yeah.
I think I climbed up the fire escape at one point
You know who climbed down?
and opened the door and let some girl in with me. Gonna have to edit that out.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't have to.
So I'm teasing.
I know.
What? So you're a business owner now. Did you bartend for a long time? When did you start your business?
I was always involved in antiques from about 1981. I had my first shop on Montezuma Street
Oh, in Prescott.
in Prescott with a lady named Toka Parrott. And we had a vintage store with jewelry, etc. there. And then I just went on to having a booth in an antique mall, but I was always kind of involved because I loved it. But my very first shop in Jerome was in 1994, and I rented the space at the base of the Speakeasy building from Roberto Rabago.
Oh, okay. That was the year Lori and I moved here.
Was it?
Yeah.
94.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yep. $375 a month, all utilities included.
Unbelievable, huh?
Yeah, it was great.
So between that time and when you first got there, did you sense that Jerome was going to become what it is today?
I don't think I ever really thought about it.
Yeah.
I just was enjoying today. I got the opportunity to buy my house in 87 or 88 because the mine owned all those houses on
Company Hill.
And I had to go to New Orleans to make the down payment money, but I already was there. I already had a job there anyway. And so I would be in New Orleans for the winter. And I made enough money to put $6,000 down on my house. And that was in
that was then
87 or 88.
Yeah.
We bought all the houses on Company Hill. But I always knew that Jerome was just going to be, it was up here on top of the mountain. It was a special place. And I called it the Karma Clearinghouse. Because whatever you had coming, if you came here, you were going to get it. You were going to get it.
Gotta wash your karmic clothes here, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, did you come with any baggage?
The only baggage I came with was Tom Peters, my boyfriend from Prescott, and we were always trying to find the other Peter.
Okay.
He was fun.
I guess that sums it up.
Yeah, but then he turned out to be a speed freak, and I couldn't figure out why he was so grumpy all the time. And so that was the end of him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, where should we go next?
I don't know.
Let me think here. The good part is when I have a brain fart like this, I can always edit it out.
Mm-hmm.
Fade from one to the next. Okay. So you started your shop after a while. You just thought this place is good enough to start a future with the business. And
when I moved to Jerome, I moved here with the intent of being here for the long term.
For the long run.
I was actually headed to the big island of Hawaii and had already gotten the information from Madsen Lines on loading up this little bit of stuff that I was going to ship to the big island.
Kidding.
But I decided to come here for the fireman's picnic. And that's when I never left. And then I got a place to live. And I thought, I'll spend a year here. And then I got the opportunity to move into the house on Company Hill, which I was just a renter in the beginning for $200 a month. And then there was an entity at that time called Society Hill Preservation, Inc. Was it shipping? It was a group of people that when they went to Phelps Dodge and said, hey, if we fix those houses up, can we live in them? And Phelps Dodge said, sure, but you got to pay $50 a month because that's what the insurance was. And so everybody said, okay, we'll do that. And so they formed a group and they took over all the houses on Company Hill, and you had to be voted in as a caretaker. And Ed Dowling lived in my house before me, and he had just bought David Conlon's house, which if you go up around the hairpin, it will be the first house that you come to on the right.
Okay.
And that's where David Conlon lived when he lived in Jerome. And so Ed Dowling bought that house, and my house was empty, and they needed a renter or a caretaker. So I started out as a renter, and after 2 months of fixing it up, they decided to make me a caretaker. So my rent went from $200 a month to $50 a month.
Wow.
On that house.
Holy cow.
I know. I couldn't believe it.
It's a wonderful place.
It's
a big
old 140-year-old dump.
And you love it.
I loved that house when I lived in Prescott. I used to come over in my Volkswagen Beetle and drive up Company Hill Road and take pictures. I have those little, like, brownie, but they're color, snapshots of that house. I take pictures
No
of
kidding.
that house. Yeah.
Wow,
I love that house.
it was a fait accompli.
It was meant to
Meant
be.
to be.
It was meant to be. So anyway, so I moved into that house, and then I went to New Orleans for the winter. I rented it to a lady who was a ballerina for $200 a month, and I moved to the French Quarter, and I got a job which I kept for about 10 years. Anytime I wanted to go work Mardi Gras Jazz Fest, I would just show up, and they were so happy, oh good, and got to buy the house about a year and a half later when Phelps Dodge decided to sell it all as a package deal.
Right.
And we formed a housing corporation in order to buy those houses.
And it got a little sticky after a few years, huh? Because now they're all divided up. Everybody owns them.
Right.
You bet.
And you too, dear.
All right.
Yes, I'll tell you this
Bathroom
story
break.
as told to Diane Rappaport. Oh,
Here we go.
okay.
I'm filling up your glass.
No, just do it this much because I have to run the gauntlet. Thank you, darling.
You're welcome. Okay, let me get my mic back on. And you were about to spill the beans about something. What was it, Sherry?
Oh, well, so when we first found out that Phelps Dodge was marketing the houses on Company Hill, there was a fabulous woman named Francesca Segretti,
I knew her.
who was married to Roderick Segretti, who had the jewelry store in one of the shops at the Connor Hotel. Francesca was the mayor, and we called her Frambo, like Rambo, because she was this Italian dynamo.
I remember.
She was a force to be reckoned with, and she was, oh God, Francesca was so wonderful. Anyway, Francesca was having lunch at a Mexican restaurant down in Cottonwood, where there's like a hotel there. It's next to the giant gas station. So Francesca's having lunch, and at the table next to her, there are 4 big dudes, and they're passing around a folder, like a 20-page folder. Own a Victorian neighborhood in one of the most iconic towns in the West, with a picture of my house on the front page, because it was the only one that was really painted, because Ed Dowling painted it blue. And Francesca is all ears, and she's listening to these guys. And they have made this big brochure, and they are passing it out to big-time developers back east, California, Chicago, to come and buy the whole of Company Hill. But wait a minute. We have first right of refusal in writing from Phelps Dodge when we first formed the Restoration Commission to fix up the houses. So they can't sell it. They made a deal with us that we get to have first right of refusal. So Frambo comes and tells all of us, look, Phelps Dodge is trying to sell all your hard work right out from under you guys. So we got to do something. So we had Darian, Erica, Alan Smith, who else?
Jerome and
Merritt Maneth, who had the tally house next to me. Merritt Maneth, what a saint. Anyway, so we all got together and we went to PD and said, you can't sell those houses.
whoops.
It'll be Curtis.
Here.
Is it
You
in the
can't find
pocket?
in there. Oh, there.
It's in the pocket.
Right. There we go.
Is it Curtis?
Yes. You want to take it?
Yeah. Hi, sweetheart. I'm in the middle of a big story with Michael McDonald.
Hi, Curtis.
Michael says, hi, Curtis.
You're next.
He says, you're next. You're next for an interview, okay? Okay, bye. Okay, so
Thanks.
I told him. Anyway, so we go to PD and we go, look, we want to buy these houses and we have first right of refusal. So what do you want? They would not give separate, they didn't want to do the work.
Individual
to give
lots?
Individual titles. They didn't want to, do that. So we had to buy the whole batch, like, I don't know, 12 houses and 3 or 4 building lots.
Yeah.
$257,000.
For the whole thing? Hell.
And they based the price on square footage of the piece of property, not the size of the house, but the size of the actual
Of the lot.
because the houses were all in various stages of disrepair. So really what you were getting was the space. And then if you were lucky, you got a house that was livable. So we did it.
Did you all get a loan together or chip in?
I think they carried us.
You think what?
I think they carried us. I think
Phelps Dodge?
I think so. Now, I'm not positive about that. Erica would know because she's got a mind like a steel trap. I think we put together like a $50,000 or $60,000 down payment, and then they carried us for 15 years.
Wow.
And I think I think they carried us for 15 years.
Holy cow.
And everybody made payments and assessments, and we got more than halfway through before the Corleys bought the United Verde apartments and put a chain across the driveway at Paradise Lane.
Right.
And that started the troubles, just like Northern Ireland. Started the troubles. It was a boundary that could have been solved with a bundt cake and a gallon of cheap wine. Because that's what I did. I took down a bundt cake and a gallon of Gallo and made friends with those people. But they wanted to fight. They had the votes. They had the fight. We had a big old lawsuit that added another $250,000 to the amount of the cost of the houses. And in the end, the judge refused to rule.
Refused to rule? So what? The case is still floating out there undecided?
No, it just was refused to rule. I'm not ruling on this case. So we got exactly the same thing that we could have had in the very beginning without any fight and any expenditure at all, as we got at the end of Mangini making $200,000 and some and a whole bunch of angst and bad blood between lots of people that had been friends for years, and then people that had voted for the lawsuit went, wait a minute, this is hopeless, and it was needless, and it all could have been solved with a bundt cake and a gallon of cheap wine.
Wow. I haven't heard this story before. This is great. So what's their name again?
Jim and Juanita Corley.
Corley.
They were from Glendale.
So they chained off the concrete stairway that goes up to the boardwalk.
They chained, you know where the green dumpster is?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the stairs that go up.
Yeah.
They put a chain across that so that people that live down on the other side of the concrete steps
At the end of the
all
boardwalk.
the way to the end could not pull in and park
They wouldn't
without their permission.
that parking lot behind their building.
Exactly. Well, Lori lived in one of those
Right.
apartments at one time. And so you could go down there, but there's really no place to park.
No.
You can back in, unload, and then you got to get out of there.
Yeah.
But the Corleys only wanted to just keep control of that because that was directly behind their building.
Yeah. I
And
know.
they bought that property because Phelps Dodge sold it to them. And Dennis Corley worked for Phelps Dodge. So he was an insider in buying that property from PD. They told us when we bought Company Hill that we owned Paradise Lane.
Oh.
And when they sold it to Jim and Juanita and Dennis Corley, they told them that they owned Paradise Lane.
Those little devils.
There is no Phelps Dodge anymore.
No.
The Karma Clearing.
The Karma Clearinghouse. Well, yeah, because if you go up to Magnolia, you're up above all those houses,
Right.
but not all of them have access from up there to bring your groceries in
How
or
do you haul a
whatever.
refrigerator in?
Yeah, right.
Up this
Yeah.
the cement
So what's the
steps?
status now?
I think the status now is pretty friendly because the Corleys are long gone. They saved the United Verde apartments and they were the most fun. There was 3 gay guys that were
Oh, yeah, that bought it after the Corleys.
no, they were part
Oh,
of
they
it.
were the Corleys.
It
That's
was
right.
Dennis,
His son and...
yes, Hanky Panky Frankie.
Yes.
And
I remember
Tom.
Hanky Panky Frankie.
Oh my God, they were fun.
They were.
They were so much fun. They were exactly the kind of people that we want in Jerome.
Right.
They were unusual.
So
and
the
misfits
kid,
and
those
fun.
2 guys, younger guys, the kid and his boyfriend, I assume,
Yep.
they had some fantastic little house in downtown Phoenix that they would light up and make
Oh,
fantastic for
exactly.
Halloween or Christmas or
It was
something.
Christmas.
Yeah.
And they were on TV.
Yes.
And people were complaining because the traffic was lined up
Right.
for miles.
Yes.
That's
Yes, I
them.
remember that. I remember Frankie.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Curtis still communicates
So
with Frank.
they that's wonderful.
Yes.
So after the parents kind of, so you're saying the parents kind of, I remember they were managing the building.
Jim and
Frankie,
Juanita were the money.
right,
And then Hanky
then-
Panky Frankie
right,
and Dennis.
And Dennis.
And Frank's boyfriend Tom.
right,
They kind of ran the building. You know, they managed
and
it.
they were much more friendly to you guys up on the hill. Yeah,
We got along
of course,
like
yeah,
a house on
they were
fire.
great.
They put a YouTube video of Sherry McMahon dancing. Because I would go down and party with them.
Uh-huh.
And we'd just get drunk. Frank could country swing. Like, remember how good Doug was at dancing?
Uh-huh.
Frank
could just
country-
tear it up, huh?
He and I would dance until my pectorals would be sore for 3 or 4 days. They
So
were so fun. And then he'd get dressed up for Halloween in a nun's outfit
yeah,
or a prostitute.
I know, yeah.
It was hilarious.
Frank was he was
Over the top.
yes.
Plus, he was in a bunch of movies as like a Western.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a bigger than life character.
He was.
Yeah. So so the whole case was just left to.
I refuse to rule.
So it's just even today, it's a matter of you and that building getting along to be able to move in or move out or
Yeah,
buy an appliance.
yeah,
And here, wow, I didn't know that.
yeah.
That's a
I don't.
bit tenuous of a
I don't
situation.
think there's any written agreement, but I don't know because I don't even know who owns it.
Yeah, and you
now.
could yours is at the end, so you can get up there a different way.
I got parking
Yeah.
for 6 cars.
Yeah, you got
On my own property.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't even have to park on the street.
right. So wow. So then, so you had to buy it as a whole section, all of Company Hill, and then I assume over the years people have surveyed and divided them up into individual lots.
Curtis and Dave Hall did it.
Okay.
Curtis could probably negotiate peace in the Middle East. And Dave Hall is like the most unflappable human being ever. And they actually got gas up the road so that I didn't have to heat my house with wood anymore. 14-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
The only place that's warm is up there. Anyway, they were able to get surveys because Jennifer and Miles McDonald wanted to buy the Pink Lady, which was Erica's house. And then when Erica moved into the Tally house, when Erica moved into the DeCamp house, Swan got that house and she wanted to sell it. And Jennifer and Miles McDonald, who had a Victorian house in Bisbee but loved Jerome, wanted to sell the house in Bisbee and buy a house to work on in Jerome. They wanted to buy that house from Swan, and they also wanted to buy a duplex which was caved in and needed to be torn down. But they wouldn't buy it if they couldn't have a title. And so all of us original owners were set to divvy up the proceeds from the sale of that piece of property. So I told Jennifer, no sale without a title. And they dangled the carrot in front of Ellen Smith, Jim Rome, Ann Bassett, Natalie Barlow, all the people that lived down on that end.
Yeah.
And we were able to survey and get separate titles. And then Miles and Jennifer bought those pieces of property. We divvied up the money. And all of a sudden, after like 20 years, I had a title to my house. Yippee! We had a big party for that one,
Oh,
too.
I bet you did.
4 Wheels Down.
Oh.
Remember them?
Yeah.
4 Wheels Down came and played in the yard. Everybody was there. Chip Davis was there. Tom O'Halloran and his wife, he was a state senator at the time.
No kidding.
They all came. It was a big old party, and we burnt the thing and had titles.
Burnt the old title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Chip for a while.
Oh, he's doing great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
He was Walter's.
Treasurer.
He was Walter's friend, and so I would see him. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Walter.
He would come by and visit Walter at Paul and Jerry's, and that's when I would see him.
Yes.
He's a nice man.
He is a very great guy.
Yeah.
He's old Arizona. His mom and dad.
Yeah.
His dad died, but his mom, Bobby Davis, they have a big ranch over in Monland in Peoples Valley.
So,
Where-
wow. So
Yeah.
you were a landowner finally in
Finally!
J-Row.
I finally got a title. I'm so happy. So,
Yeah. Where do we go from here?
oh God.
What year are we at?
We are at about 2000. I'd have to ask Jennifer because she would remember. Maybe like 2002.
Oh, really? That
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's
Yeah.
that recent, but
But it took a while.
yeah.
87.
All the way through the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
I know.
Well, I hope there's continued peace between.
Everybody kind of made up. Everybody, even Ellen Smith and Jim Rome, both, now God rest their souls, they're
Yeah.
gone. They were next door to Jennifer.
Yeah.
They got along great with Jennifer. Jennifer looked after them. She used to take Jim over food after Ellen died, and looked after them for a long time. So everybody basically kind of kissed and made up, and there's no hard feelings. It's all over. I still love Natalie. Ann Bassett, she's gone.
Right.
God rest her soul. If she was walking up Company Hill, I'd stop and pick her up. And I love Erica, always have, because Erica's the reason that I have that house.
She's the one that tipped you off to renting it?
She said, Sherry, why don't you come to the meeting and put your name in for the Blue House? And I go, I've always loved that house. And I went up there because of Erica.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's the reason
All
I
right.
got that house.
So you ended up making a lot of wonderful friends moving here, huh?
Love the people of Jerome.
Yeah.
Just love them. Almost all of them.
Almost all of them.
There's a few that are intolerable, but I shan't name names.
No, me either. But I agree with you. There's only a few that I haven't been able to forgive.
Yeah. And there's a couple that I enjoyed.
Okay.
But that's part of a Scorpio thing, We can't help it. It's in our nature. It's like being a snake.
So, what do you think about Jerome all grown up today?
Well, I think Jerome will always be its own entity. That the town and the geographical position that it's on has a lot of power.
Explain.
Look at that.
Well, yeah.
When the moon comes up,
Yeah.
it's right in your face.
Yeah.
There's no amount of animosity or anything can change its geographical position.
That's true.
And so it's up high, it's on a hill, it's an elevated spot. I think it's a magical place. And I don't use the word magic lightly because I think magic is overdone. The magic is all right here.
There you go.
Yeah, but
well, you go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
But I think that we have always been fending off slings and arrows from people that would like to exploit our superior position. Look at poor Telluride.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been to Telluride?
Not for a long time, but yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's pretty Disney World touristy. Yeah.
Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing,
Right.
So hopefully Jerome can hold on to a sense of community spirit where the sum of us is greater than our differences.
Well, that's why I want to do these interviews, to keep that flame alive. And I would agree with you that Jerome has done a pretty good job of resisting gentrification and commercialization. There's a lot of pressure, especially right now. Every day it increases.
Huge. Yep.
But there's something stubborn about it, isn't there?
Thank goodness for those two little old ladies.
Who? The tamale ladies? No.
Oh, they were adorable, weren't they? When they had the funeral for Aurelia, we were having a party at my house with Slim and Lori playing music in the side yard, and they sent an emissary up and asked us if we could please wait for an hour because they were having Aurelia's funeral, and she was like 120 or something at the Catholic Church.
Oh.
Yeah, ask your sister about that. She'll remember. She got so drunk. Oh, well, and Slim was always drunk, but Lori got so drunk. What did she have, like a bottle of Rumble Mints or something? It was just, Oh my God. Anyway.
I remember her Rumpelmitz era, period.
Holy shit. Anyway, where was I? No, not the tamale ladies. Where was I? I lost my whole train of thought.
Well,
I'm thinking about Lori.
She'll do that to you.
I love Lori so much.
Yeah, what were we talking about? Roll back the tape.
Jerome can hang on to
Yes.
the thing. Oh, the two little old ladies.
Yes, which two little old ladies?
Well, I think one of them was Laura Greenwell. I think. I'm not positive. Now I'll check on that and I'll give you the straight scoop later because Curtis will know. But Al Palmieri, when I went to his house when he was moving after John Armstrong died,
yes,
and I bought a whole bunch of stuff that was in Jerome for years and years and years, there were two 1950s paper mache jack-o'-lanterns. And I go, oh, Al, can I buy those? And he goes, oh yeah. He said, these came from Mickey. The lady's name was Mickey. What was Mickey's last name? Anyway, she was one of the gals that went to the Historical Society in Phoenix after Phelps Dodge tore down the T.F. Miller department store,
right,
which is where the parking spot is now across from the Spirit Room.
Yes.
That was a 4-story department store. I have a Stetson hat that in the hat band it says T.F. Miller, Jerome.
No
Arizona.
kidding.
When they tore that building down, these two little old ladies looked at each other and went, yikes! They're going to tear the whole town down around us if we don't do something. So they went to the Historical Society in Phoenix and they petitioned for Jerome to become a National Historic District. So the whole perimeter around us, you can't tear it down.
Wow.
And they are the ones that
saved Jerome.
They saved it. They were somewhere at lunch, just like Franbo was, and they overheard somebody from Phelps Dodge talking to somebody else saying, oh, in 5 or 10 years, nobody will even know Jerome existed. They heard that, and they went and they put a stop to it.
When was this, Sherry?
I think this was in the late 50s, early, probably like 58, 59.
Oh, okay.
Mickey was here all her life. She owned a house off of School Street. I don't know who lives in it now, but Alice, Mary Butcher's daughter, lived in it for a while. Anyway, but you could check with the Jerome, the museum with the big wheel in it, because they will know when those ladies went down and petitioned for historic status.
Oh, this is so great,
Sherry. Because it was getting knocked, it was being sold for salvage. The, what's the Mexican family that lives in the Gulch?
Solano, I don't remember.
Nancy Stewart bought her house from them.
I don't know.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, they were taking the buildings apart.
Yeah.
And selling them for salvage. There was a building on the lot where my shop is now called the Hampton Building. It was a 4-story stone building. There's a photo of it on the 2nd floor of Eric and Michelle's.
No, no kidding.
Grapes. Now it's
and that got torn down, and then
it was taken down for salvage.
And then the old fire station was there, which was just a
shell.
It was just corrugated metal and whatnot.
When Eric bought it.
Yeah. Hey, well, that leads me...
The Lozanos.
Yes, the Lozanos.
The Lozanos. So their whole family was being paid to dismantle Jerome and sell it for salvage.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, I'm not going to go there.
Don't go there because we don't want to make
No,
them unhappy.
no.
You can edit that out, but now you know.
Well, speaking of old timers, did you, when you first moved here, feel any animosity from the people who were kind of left behind after the mine closed? I mean, I've heard a few things about they didn't like the damn hippies coming into town.
I think that was before my time.
Okay.
By the time I got here,
Yeah.
I was on good terms with Mary and Ray Hofnagel, who owned the house right down here that Segretti has now.
Okay.
On really good terms with the Voynichs, Ellen, Big Jerry,
Yeah.
Little Jerry, love all of them. There were the people, oh God, what was their name? They were so darling. They owned the Sankey Mansion, which is next door to Carol Whitner's house
Mm-hmm.
on the back of School Street.
Yep.
Got along great with them. I can't think of anybody that I didn't. Even Dora.
No, Dora.
Oh my God. What was Dora's last name? Endora. I called her Endora. She lived on Verde Street. She had the house that was there next to Sheila Conlon's that was all kind of crooked, 4-story house. And the little tiny cute gal bought and remodeled it a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Endora. I get along with her. I don't know.
You get along with everyone.
I try.
Yeah, you do a good job.
I try.
Well, so you really feel like Jerome's not gonna lose its character because of expense? I mean, I notice now that it's getting harder and harder for the artist musician types to be able to afford to live here, and I am afraid that we're going to lose that part of our population, and that would change the character of Jerome. Now, I'm still holding on. Now, I was fortunate enough to be able to buy my home, and I think I'll be able to hold on to it. But
we might not be able to insure it.
Yes, exactly.
But you could take that $3,000 and just put it in the bank.
Right.
Rather than give it to those bastards.
So what do you think? Do you think Jerome's gonna be able to hold on to its struggling artist population?
If the town council will do things to accommodate and encourage, like they did with buying the chief of police's house.
Right.
If they will do things to encourage the people that should be here to be here. Now, what I have noticed in the time that I have lived here is that a little bit of power corrupts. A little bit of power goes to people's heads. But the thing I have noticed is that when someone comes here and has an idea and wants to do something that would fit in beautifully and be perfect for the town, just the kind of people that we would like to have here, the bullies say no. And when the kind of person that has the money to say, well, I'll check with my attorney, the town rolls over and pisses on themselves like a nervous French poodle.
Yes.
And says yes. So they discourage the people that should be here by bullying them with their overinflated sense of power, and they roll over. And so their rules are arbitrary and capricious. Therefore, if the face of the town changes, it'll be on them.
All right.
You can quote me on that.
Well, We did.
Sorry, you can quote me on that.
No,
Having been through it myself.
I could talk to you for hours.
I could talk to you for hours, darling. You're so easy. You ask all the right questions.
I don't know if you're getting tired. If you want to keep going, we can. If you want to do a second one, we could.
Let's do a second one, sweetheart.
And
let's go for round 2.
yeah,
I
you
should
know,
get home.
there are certain people that I have done more than one, and I think you qualify.
We have scratched this.
I know, and you're wonderful and entertaining, articulate.
Oh, thank you.
And
I in English always.
And you're wonderful to spend time with.
Oh, honey.
All right. Till next time. Bye, guys.
Au revoir.